Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest shakeups in India's recent history, a complete revolution in its workplace laws. For decades, the system has been, well, a tangled mess. The big idea now? To swap all that complexity for some much-needed clarity.
Just imagine this. For more than 70 years, if you worked in India, your rights and responsibilities were governed by a crazy quilt of 29 different national laws. They covered everything you can think of: wages, safety, disputes, and they were often overlapping and contradictory.
But now, in the biggest labor reform pretty much ever, the government has taken all 29 of those old laws and boiled them down into just four modern streamlined codes. It's a huge change, and it's meant to simplify everything.
So you have to ask, why go through all this trouble? And more importantly, what does this actually mean for you, whether you're an employee or an employer? How does it change the future of work in India? Let's get into it.
Okay, so to really appreciate the new system, we first have to understand just how complicated the old one really was.
The old system was a total maze. Seriously. Picture running a business and having to navigate dozens of laws that sometimes even told you to do opposite things. And get this, a simple term like wages could mean one thing when calculating your retirement fund, but something completely different for your long service bonus. It was a compliance nightmare for companies and left workers totally confused about the rights.
So the government's fix was pretty radical: tear it all down and rebuild from the ground up. They've streamlined that whole mess into 4 logical codes that are designed to cover your entire journey as an employee.
And these 4 pillars are really the core of the whole thing. First, you've got the Code on Wages to make sure pay is calculated the same way for everyone. Second, the Social Security Code, which rolls all your benefits into one package. Third, the OSH Code, which is all about keeping you safe and healthy at work. And finally, the Industrial Relations Code, to handle disputes and union matters. The theme here is pretty obvious: simplicity and consistency.
All right, so enough with the big picture. Let's talk about what really matters. How is this going to impact your paycheck, your benefits, and your day-to-day life on the job?
This might just be the single most important change: a new universal definition of wages. Here's the deal. If all your extra allowances, like for housing or travel, add up to more than half your total pay, then the extra bit gets counted as part of your core wages for calculating benefits. It's a really crucial shift that affects almost everything else.
And this comparison just says it all, doesn't it? On the one hand, you had the old, tangled mess where every benefit was calculated differently. And on the other, the new system, just one definition of wages for everything. It finally brings some real clarity to the table.
So what does this do to your bank account? Well, since your contributions for things like your retirement fund will now be based on this new, potentially higher wage, your monthly take-home salary might dip a little. But, and this is a big but, the flip side is that your long-term savings for retirement and gratuity are going to get a nice, healthy boost. Now, here's something that's a huge win for employees. In the past, you could resign from a job and then have to chase your final payment for weeks, even months. Well, the new code says no more. Your employer has to settle all your dues within 2 working days of your last day, even if you're the one who quit. And the improvements don't stop there. Overtime pay is now standardized at double your normal wage, and, this is a big deal, your boss needs your consent to ask you to work it. Annual leave rules are simpler too, and you now have the right to cash out your unused days at the end of the year, which gives you way more flexibility. Now, for the very first time, Indian law is officially recognizing the millions of people who make up the gig economy. This is absolutely massive and, frankly, long overdue.
The new Social Security Code gives us a clear legal definition for a gig worker. It's a really broad category, basically covering anyone earning a living outside of that standard 9-to-5 job, like freelancers or independent contractors.
And then, the law drills down even further, defining a platform worker. These are the folks who use an app or a website, a digital platform, to connect with customers and get paid for their services.
So who are we talking about here? It's the drivers for ride-sharing apps, the people delivering your food, the folks working through e-commerce sites, and service professionals you book through an app. All these millions of people who are kind of in a legal gray zone are now officially recognized.
And this is the part that could be a real game changer. By officially defining these workers, the new codes give the government the power to create social security programs just for them. This could mean things like health benefits, disability coverage, or even retirement plans, stuff they've never had access to before.
Okay, so these 4 huge new codes have been passed. You might be asking, so why aren't they fully active everywhere yet? It's a great question. Let's look at what the road to implementation looks like.
So here's the thing. Even though the central government has passed these laws, labor is a topic where both the center and the states have a say. That means each state has to draft and approve its own set of rules to make these codes work on the ground. Many states are in the process, but until everyone's on board, the nationwide rollout is still a work in progress.
So let's be clear, this isn't just a few tweaks here and there. This is a fundamental redesign of India's entire labor system. The whole goal is to move on from a complicated, outdated past and into a simpler, more streamlined future that actually fits the modern economy.
The new rulebook has been written, but the real test is just starting. And it leaves us with a huge question. Will these new codes really build a more flexible and secure future for India's workers? Or will the old complexity just find new ways to creep in? The foundation has been laid, but the house is still waiting to be built.